from Microbe TV. This is Office Hours, and today is Wednesday, the 21st of February, 2024. I'm Vincent Racaniello, and joining me tonight from Montreal, Canada, Angela Mingarelli. Welcome back.
Hey, how's everyone tonight? It's not too cold here in Montreal. It's actually above zero, above zero C, which is kind of terrifying for February.
It's 2 degrees C here in New York and cloudy.
Yeah, I think it's zero here. So here's my case. Everybody, TWiV case.
Yes, we got Angela a TWiV case. It's beautiful.
It's very nice.
It matches mine. Different phone, but her phone is bigger, right? You have a huge phone.
We're the only two in the world for now.
I think that's true. Yeah. Nobody else, but you can have them. The problem is that, as I was saying to Angela the other night, there's so many different phones. I can't keep them in stock, and the companies will not make them on demand. So I just make them when Angela said, "Can I have a TWiV phone?" And I just made it. Phone case. Anyway, welcome everybody. I want to thank our moderators. First, I saw Les here tonight. Thank you, Les. Thank you, Andrew from New Zealand. Thank you, Steph SF from San Francisco. Who else is here? Do we have any other mods? No, I don't see anybody else. They may pop in over the next hour or so. Thank you for moderating, and thanks everyone for joining us. Please let us know where you are from. Here's Amy. Hello, Amy, again. Thank you for joining us. It's very kind of you. Tell us where you're from, and we'll go through. But in the meanwhile, as you know, Angela's been on. She's a co-host of TWiV, and this is her second Office Hours. You were on back in November.
Yes, exactly.
And
it feels like last week.
Angela is a DVM, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, and now getting a PhD. And so you can ask her questions about animals, right? That's cool because all of you have animals. Many of you have animals. You can ask her questions about that. You can say, "Why do you put your hand in a horse's butt?" That's fine, which we did on TWiV.
We
and it was
always end up talking about rectal exams. Always.
You can ask about viruses for sure. And Angela is an exercise fanatic.
I came from the gym, actually. I went about an hour ago. I got home. So
what did you do today?
And I had a TWiV fan. So today I did squats. So I was at the lab, and then I went directly from the lab to the gym, and I did like a heavy squatting session. And then I did what we call, I did a little bit of chest. So my gym is super busy. So I kind of just go with, I've been 5 days in a row now. So whatever didn't really hurt. So I haven't worked out my chest in a few days. So I did flat bench. So basically you lay on a bench with a dumbbell, but I did unilateral because it targets the chest. I feel like it targets it better, and it's good for overall core strength as well, because you have to balance your body at the same time with the dumbbell. So I did, I just squatted and then did flat bench with dumbbells. And then it was an hour. It was very fast, in and out. And then I came home to eat dinner, and here we are.
So we I don't know, 2 weeks ago, you were on TWiV, I think, and we were talking about exercise. I don't know why. And I said to Angela, "Why don't you come on Office Hours and you can talk about exercise too?" And she said, "Of course, I always want to talk about exercise." And then my video editor, David, said, "You should do a podcast on the science of exercise or sports." And so we're incubating one, right, Angela?
Exactly. It's at 37. It might take a little bit more time. It's one of these long incubations, but no, it's not that long. But yeah, it's a really exciting idea. Myself and another, now former PhD student, now PhD, Darren Alcreef. He actually has his PhD in exercise physiology, and he's extremely knowledgeable, and also loves not only the physiology portion, but the gym portion. He's very much so active in the gym and does a lot of weightlifting, powerlifting, different types of things. And he's also very passionate about all of this. So I'm not an expert in that. Like I train and I love. I'm in the Department of Physiology at McGill. So even though my lab is mainly immunology, we like there's a lot of different labs that do different things in physiology. So we're listening to we're attend seminars all the time in different topics, which is good. And we'll see how it goes. For now, we're still trying to find a name. So we have a few names, a few candidates, and we want to make it accessible to the lay public. We don't want to go too nitty gritty on exercise physiology, maybe some of the episodes, but then also have other episodes with athletes and make it just like a fun conversation, have a lot of like good conversations with people and highlight their overall strengths and their performance and different aspects of exercise. And if anybody has any suggestions, please send them in to Microbe TV, or if you have any specific episodes or things that you would think would be cool topics, we're accepting any idea that you guys have. Yeah.
So it's gonna, I mean, it's gonna be Angela and what's his name? Jason?
Darren.
Sorry. Oh my God.
It's okay.
And I will not participate, but we're thinking about twice a month. We don't have a title yet, but we'll work on that, and hopefully people will listen. There's not a lot in this space. I mean, it will be science focused, as Angela said, but we'll also bring in people who either are athletes or who exercise, who are exercise mavens. I was interviewed once by Jillian Michaels. Maybe we could get her to come on.
That would be great to have her because she has a huge following. She has millions of followers, and she's had like a very large influence in fitness, and it would be actually wonderful to have her. Yeah, there's a lot of people on my list. Some of them might be harder to get, but I'm reaching for the stars, and I might use you, Vincent, to reach out to them if necessary. Sure.
Sure.
There's a lot of really cool people.
Micro TV is nice. It's not huge, but we can do it. And we're going to produce it, of course. And Angela and what's his name?
Darren.
Darren. I have to write it down. I don't say it enough to get it. Darren. And Angela and Darren will be the hosts. So I think it's exciting if you want to.
Hopefully Darren's not watching because he's going to.
I know you'd be insulted. I only met him once. Anyway, let's see who's here tonight and where you are. By the way, MN says Mingarelli rolls off the tongue. It sure does.
That's true.
It's easy to say Mingarelli. Racaniello is not as rolling off the tongue, I think, right?
Yeah, it is. Racaniello. If you say it like with an Italian accent, Racaniello.
You think so?
Mingarelli.
Okay.
I think so. It's a good name.
Let's see. Will is from Changsha, China. I know that. So a lot of you don't say where you're from, but I know where you're from. So thanks for joining us. Rima is somewhere in the mid-U.S. I think is Kansas next to Nebraska? Do you know?
Do I know? No.
I forget. I know. I think so. I'm not sure, but she's in one of those states. Anyway, thank you for joining us. Simon is in San Jose.
Oh, it is. No, it is. It's above. Nebraska is above Kansas.
Okay.
We're ignorant. See, we don't know everything. We know nothing.
I don't know geography.
About geography, I know nothing.
Angela, it's New York and California. That's the U.S. as far as I can tell. It's insulting, I know. Nicola is from Italy. Welcome. Claire is from the UK. Maureen is from Northeast Ohio. One of our mods, Andrew, is from New Zealand, Pongaroa. Richard is from Portland, Oregon. Here's another thumbs up for Dr. Mingarelli from Thomas Bell. You said someone recognized your voice at the gym tonight. Is that right?
Wait, so I was at the squat rack and I had
squat rack. Oh my God. Maybe that's the name of the podcast, At the Squat Rack.
At the squat rack. It makes it so niche though, but yeah.
Niche. So, talk about niche.
I know. I was I wasn't even sitting. I was getting ready to squat. I hadn't even started yet. And I put my phone down because I told you, Vincent, remember, if we put it down, people can see the name. So I'm
Yeah, sure.
actively always facing it down now. And he just walks by, and I've seen him before at the gym. He's like a really strong guy. His name is Fabrice, or Fab. And when he said that, I was like, like the portion of the antibody. I'm such a nerd. Like the Fab portion. um, but he just like I had my AirPods in, so I took them out, and he was like, "Oh, do you watch TWiV?" And I look at him, and I was like, and in my head, I'm like, dude, if you watch TWiV, you have to know that I'm a like co-host. And I was like, oh yeah, oh
Dude.
yeah, of course. And as I'm about to say, like, I'm also a co-host, he's like, wait, your voice, wait, you're Angela. And I was like, yeah,
Good.
because he only listens on Spotify. So then we spoke for like 20 minutes. He did his master's in immunology.
That's cool.
So yeah, he's doing
Yeah,
his
phone
MBA
cases.
now.
I mean, I really
Phone case.
should give everybody phone cases, because then we'd be generating conversations all over the place, right?
But truly, like I've had multiple conversations just this week about my phone case, even on the metro, somebody
Yeah.
asking me, like on the subway,
Yeah.
somebody asking me like, what is that? And I was like, oh, it's a podcast. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's see. Rima is in actually Iowa. It's neither Kansas nor Nebraska. Sorry about that.
Oh,
Okay. Dean is from Wyoming. Martha is from South Carolina. Who else is here? Kang is
I'm
from
trying to,
Chicago. Neva is in, well, she hasn't said, but I know she's in Buda, Texas. Yes, we'll be in Texas for South by Southwest. We're doing 3 events. We're doing TWiV 100 at the Science Mill on Sunday.
oh,
We're
nice.
doing TWiV on Monday at the University of Texas. And Tuesday I'll be doing a session at South by Southwest, which is not a microbe TV session. It's a South by session, but it'll be on phage therapy and some other interesting applications. Let's see. MK is from Eastern Massachusetts. MN is near DC. Jonathan is from Encinitas. Lise is from Columbus, Ohio. Margot is from Phoenix, Arizona. Mr. Doreen is from Elgin, Illinois, 60 kilometers west of Chicago. And DR says, Vincent isn't at home. That's right. I am at the incubator. I teach in the spring semester, which is now, and my lectures are Mondays and Wednesdays. So the Wednesday lecture ends at 5:30, and it's very difficult for me to get on the train in time for office hours. So I decided just to stay here and get home in some way later on. Hat is from L.A. Mark Martin. Hello, Mark, from Puget Sound, University of Puget Sound, which is in Tacoma, Washington. And Mark was on a couple of weeks ago. Welcome. Nice to see you, Mark.
This is Mark from Microbial Matters, no?
Matters Microbial, yeah.
Matters Microbial. So why do I always say it? I'm dyslexic. In my defense, I'm dyslexic. So, okay, yes, Matters Microbial. Hello, Mark. Hopefully we do meet someday in person.
Questella is from Ohio. I know that. Sorry you're sick. Visto Tutti is from Sydney. Hola, Dr. Mingarelli.
Hello, Visto Tutti.
Noir is from, yeah, isn't it funny? Visto Tutti. Well, I think it's probably a fake name, right?
Well, obviously. It just means seen everything.
Yeah, so I figured that it must be Visto. What is your real name? Well, you don't have to tell us. But it is a fake name, Visto Tutti. Oh, Visto Tutti, si. Noir LeBlanc is from Santa Fe, New Mexico. Brian is from Montreal, and we met Brian.
We met Brian.
You were there, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Brian and, what was the name of his partner? Artemis. That's it. Yeah,
Artemis
exactly.
is the...
exactly.
But I'm not sure that's her name, is it?
No, I think it was when we met her in person. I'm pretty sure it was Artemis.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's see. Peter is from Boulder, Colorado. John is from Minneapolis, and Amy is in Washington, D.C. area. Very Nika. What's the word? Oh my God! How can I forget this? No,
What? Oh,
no. Privet. Very Nika. Jesus. You don't use
that's
something.
impressive. That's impressive.
Privet. Privet. Thanks for coming. Moscow. Wow, that's very cool. Cool TWiV phone cases. Yeah, they are cool. They are cool. Wayne is from Urbana, Illinois. That's really good. Doreen is from Hartford. Mark is in Tacoma, Washington. Does anyone know who's making an oral version of remdesivir? I should have saved this for later, but yeah, there is. But Daniel Griffin doesn't know what the timeline is at all. Cheryl is from Santa Rosa, California. Elizabeth is from West Virginia. DR is from London, UK. Razor is from Saskatchewan, Canada. Talia,
Nice.
7, is from the Philippines. Wow. We got New Zealand. We got Philippines. Carol Wong, our favorite nephrologist, is from sunny Southern California. Mike and Lori are in Seattle. Nebby is from Lake Wales, Florida. Evan is in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Yvonne. Tona is from Long Island. That's Long Island. That's not far from here. DR says you're working those glutes. That's what squats do, right?
Glutes, hamstrings, quads. Yeah, whole like lower body.
What's your favorite
Basically,
weight? Is it the squat? Do you love squats or do you like something else better?
my favorite weight. So like the favorite thing I love to do at the gym. So there's
No,
something
with
called
weights, just with weights, not
yeah. Well, with weights
Yeah.
is with a barbell. It's called a power clean. It's an Olympic lifting movement.
Mm.
It's basically when you take the bar from the ground and then you like bend down and you kind of do a deadlift, but like with acceleration and force, and then you bring it up to like your shoulders. So you have to like, I'd have to show you a video.
So
but
it's
power
not a,
clean.
it's a clean. It's a clean basically, right?
Yes, you know what a clean is. Yes, but without the full squat, you catch it in a power position, which means that your hip crease is above your knee, so you're not in like a full squat. So you catch it high with like more power.
Oh, so a clean, you have to catch it in a full squat.
Yeah, the clean is like a squat clean.
If you like this talk, you should listen to the new podcast. Because I mean, there's some episodes you and Darren. See, I got his name right now. You and Darren could banter about what you guys do. Like, what's your routine? Right?
I'm sure we will.
That would be fun.
I'm sure I'll try to keep it to not being too excessive because I could talk about that forever.
Spamlet is from the UK. Ariozone is from Asheville, North Carolina. Oh, now here's a challenge. Thomas sent us his flag. Do you know what flag that is, Angela? I don't know.
Yeah.
What
three guesses. The first two don't count.
Is green, white, and red. In that order. It's Mexico. Green,
that's Italy, Vincent.
Well, Mexico is vertical, I guess. Flag of Italy.
No, Mexico is this. I thought you were joking. It's Italy. Mexico is the same, but it has us in like a crest in the middle. It's the same as Italy, but it has a crest.
It's Italy for you.
I know. Why. That's why I thought you were joking.
I don't know flags. I don't know geography.
Mexico,
I know one thing. Okay. I know viruses. I know them really well. Although I'm not going to call myself an expert because, as Darren said, you shouldn't do that.
I mean, I thought you were joking about the flag, but yes, of course it's Italy. And Mexico is the exact same, but it has an insignia in the middle. It's I think it's like an eagle or something. Mm-hmm. The Mexican flag. Yeah.
Look, Leslie is from Trinidad. I have never had anyone on this stream from Trinidad as far as I can remember. Wow, cool. Welcome. Very cool. Very Nika says, fingers crossed for this week in bro science. With Angela and not Rich, Darren. There's so much information about exercise. Is that true, Angela? There's a lot of misinformation.
Oh, yeah. People love to just say anything at the gym. But I mean, to like the bro science. So when she says bro science has a negative connotation. Like when people refer to bro science, they refer to just random people at the gym saying anything that comes to mind that's not scientifically backed. That's
Right.
what bro science is. But I jokingly say like, oh, bro science, but I try. Obviously, I follow the science, but there's a lot of bro science at the gym and a lot of people that think that they know what they're doing and, you know, or think that they know things. Yeah.
Okay. This is great. I love it. I don't know any of this stuff. Good. Robert is from outside Gettysburg. Hey, Vanity Nutrition is in the house, one of our mods from Long Island. We have some great questions here for you, but we'll get to them. Silent Runner is from Wichita, Kansas. Doreen O is in Central Connecticut. Oh, lots of good questions here. Very good. All about some exercise questions too. Exactly.
Mhm.
Oh, look at this. El informante desinformado y soy Sancho Panza. The Italian weightlifting team is dominant, Vincent. Check out Gianna Imperio. Yeah, I
Oh, she's the
follow
one that
her.
you sent me. Yeah,
Yeah, I
exactly.
follow her on Instagram. She's amazing. Holy cow.
Vincent has been sending me her reels and on Instagram.
Oh, and
She's
then you
so
said,
strong and she's in like the 59-kilo weight class, I think. So she's very light too, but she's
hmm,
super strong. Yeah.
yeah, that's good. Let's see here. uh, oh, Tona says, I would listen to anything, Angela. See, you already have a lot of fans. That's excellent.
Thank you,
And
Tona.
Jessica wants to know if you're going to ASV 2024.
No, well, I'm not planning on going yet because it's in June. It's difficult because it's right when, I mean, it's in June, right? I think. Is it? Or is it May? I
Uh,
forget.
no, it's not in May. It's either June or July. Let me look. Go ahead. Keep talking. Why can't you
No, that
go?
I think it might have been because I always go to Spain at the
Oh,
end of
okay.
June.
Right.
That's always when I go. But if I'm not, and do you want, where is it again? I know you've said this a million times, but
It's in Columbus, Ohio.
it's not that far. Maybe
It
I could go.
is June 24th through the 28th. So it's
Oh,
when
that's
you're in Spain.
why.
Now
It's like
you're in
no, it's
Spain.
because there's this huge party that I always go to. It's like this big festival outside, and it's June 28th normally.
Yeah.
And normally I'm there for it. But if I'm not, if I don't end up going to Spain, I would love to go to ASV. I mean, the ocean calls to me. I know. I have to
Yeah.
choose.
There's no ocean in Columbus.
Then yeah, I know. That's the problem.
Kathleen is in South Jersey. Calliope is in Toronto, not too far from you, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Jessica's at the University of Toledo in Toledo, Ohio. Yeah. Bernard Wandel is in D.C. proper. Frank is in Santa Barbara. Vincent should wear black and yellow. Yeah, that way you could pronounce my name, right? Well, I don't have yellow behind me today, but sometimes I could dial the lights to be yellow. That's easy. That's very easy. Yeah, I got it remade. We know you're in Iowa now. I'm sorry about that. Uh, Jacques is from Brazil.
Oh
Troy
hey.
is from British Columbia. Angry Penguin is from Toronto. Nice to see you back, Angela.
Angry Penguin. It's an
It's good. Hello.
interesting name.
The Tory is from Connecticut and India. Hmm.
And India. Okay, so living in Connecticut, but from India probably.
Elena is in Reno, Nevada. Cool. Which I visited some years ago. Luis is in Portugal. um, Gosh, some people are talking to you in Spanish, Angela. This will be
I'm
fun.
trying to find in the chat and it's like you're going I keep on losing where you are.
Well, the chat should
Prima.
appear underneath the YouTube window, no? Oh, there's a delay, so you don't see it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot. Everybody's very engaged, which is great.
Yeah, it's really
Let's
good.
see.
Famida is from Chapel Hill. That's cool. Um, Ron is from Sechelt, BC, and you're one of environmental's favorites. Okay.
Nice.
Environmental is the southern tier of Western New York. Yep. Barb is from Michigan. Rafael is from Brazil. 500,000 cases of dengue so far. Wow, that's a lot.
Brazil.
Frank is in Tipperary, Ireland. Bioinformatics says, I've got a paper due tomorrow, but here I am listening to you is this procrastination or not?
So that's my, this is a person I know very well. That's Ansley.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
From your institution, from McGill?
Yes, he's in cancer genetics at McGill.
Okay.
Yeah, he's doing his PhD as well.
Jem is from Hampton, Virginia. Thomas says, I've never seen a more intellectually gifted family than the Mingarelli family. You know, I didn't even know that when I asked Angela on. That just came with it. It didn't play into the equation, but it's really a benefit because we had Kiara on already, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, my siblings are extremely intelligent. I am the least interesting, I would say, out of all of my siblings. Probably they're all great.
Here we think you're very interesting.
Oh, there's Fabrice. He's from the gym. He's the one from the gym.
Are you kidding? That's funny. Yeah. Hello, welcome,
hey,
welcome.
Nice to meet you today.
A lot of exercise. Oh, this is great. A lot of exercise questions. Fellow Canadian from Nova Scotia. Wow. Daniel. Italy, how did I miss that? I'm a jerk. I'm sorry. I'm a jerk. When it comes to non-viral things, I'm not very good. What
non-viral things?
Any more places? Because Salvatore Cucinata is a Philadelphia lawyer. Very good. Ian is in New Zealand. And that should do it. This week in kinesiology. Angela doesn't like the this weekend, so it's not going to be.
No, I want to make
it
shorter, more concise.
Yeah, it's fine. No problem. I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I'm excited to answer all of these questions.
You take it and run. Okay, SF Farm D is Kip and Laura from San Francisco. Thank you for your contribution to science communication. Do our flu vaccines induce T cells as well as B cells? I recall on a past TWiV that there was an issue about flu vaccine and T cells. Am I confabulating? Primed versus unprimed human responses.
Well, it definitely elicits T cell responses.
Yeah, it does. I don't think it's great. I mean, it's not durable, right? It doesn't last part of the problem is that the virus may change from year to year, but even if it doesn't change, it's not particularly durable. So, but I think it does elicit some T cell response, right? Yeah.
No, for sure. What's the one? Well, what wanes the most from what we know is antibodies, which would come from B cells, though, right? Because that's why we don't have like very strong immunity, mucosal immunity, even.
Yeah. Oh, here's a very interesting question. I actually thought about this. What makes measles more contagious than other diseases? Is it related to the number of PFU produced from each infected cell? So I think there are a number of reasons. I think the infectivity is high. I think it does not require a lot of virus particles to initiate an infection. I think that's part of it. And people shed a lot of virus from the respiratory tract, right? So the high infectivity and high shedding is a good recipe. It also remains suspended in the aerosols for long periods of time, and so better.
And chance. On fomites, right? Also on fomites, like
and then you shed virus for like 8 days.
That's a long time.
A long time, and I think all those things combine to do that. Yeah. What do you think, Angela? Does it sound good?
That sounds good. I guess to give some context, in other viral infections, respiratory, the average, correct me if I'm wrong, you're normally only shedding virus for 3 days-ish, 2 to 4, let's say. Isn't that more or less?
I mean, flu virus,
Yeah.
respiratory SARS-CoV-2. I think that would be
Hmm.
fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's longer than the average. So then that automatically increases also
So now
transmission.
we have multiple. We have just had a case of measles in Florida, where the Surgeon General the other day said it's up to parents to.
What happened? Something has happened in the incubator. I think Vincent's audio went off.
Yeah,
That's fine.
my board just died.
Oh no.
I
Your
just
audio board?
yeah, it just went off. And then
Oh,
I
we
just
can
turned
still
it on
hear
and it's
you.
fine. You can hear me now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, anyway, there's a case of measles in Florida. And the Surgeon General said it's up to parents to decide whether to vaccinate their kids. You can go to school without being vaccinated against measles.
That's
Just
crazy.
crazy, just totally crazy. I mean, unbelievable. There's just
Yeah.
reason is no longer prevailing. This is crazy.
They all need to go read The Death of Expertise by Tom Nichols.
Did you start reading it?
Yeah, well, I'm listening to it on Audible. So while I'm in the
Okay,
lab, and I'm already about a third of the way through the book, and it's amazing. It has
that's
so
very
many
good.
good one liners that I want to just grab a notebook and write down. Like, so many just like profound sentences, profound like one lines. He's so wonderful. I love his writing.
I think we didn't get Hans in Ecuador. I don't remember highlighting Hans.
I
So
don't either.
welcome. Okay, here's a question for Angela. We recently saved a stray cat that had severe calicivirus infection. What measures we can do to fasten her wound healing? You know what it means.
So if she has calicivirus, then I guess she wasn't vaccinated against. So there's like a complex, like a feline respiratory complex that you normally vaccinate your cats against when they're young. She doesn't, then it's mostly just symptomatic. All you can do, there's no antivirals that are normally administered to cats. If they have secondary bacterial
Mm.
infections, you can give antibiotics for that. If she has any sort of, you know, crusting or pus or anything, I'm not sure if you've taken her to the vet or not, but yeah, treat secondary bacterial infections and just symptomatic treatment on the wounds. If you see that she has any open sores, um, try to keep her away from like dirty environments, or I'm not sure if you live somewhere where there's snow or if there's dirt, but keeping her away from dirt and things like that to keep the wounds as clean as possible is all you can do until the flare up subsides.
Uh, so Amy just texts me, and let me turn off this because you're wearing Lululemon tonight, right, Angela?
Yes, this is from my sister Kiara, sweater from Lulu.
So
Yeah.
apparently Lulu is a Canadian company, right?
Yes, I believe it is. Yeah, I think Vancouver. I think.
Montreal, not Montreal. No.
No, I'm pretty sure it's like Vancouver.
Okay.
Let me see. Why? What is it?
No, there's no because you're in Montreal. That would be funny if they're there, right?
No, the headquarters is Vancouver. Yeah, I just checked. I Googled.
What Dean wants to know: what is the efficacy of the Lyme vaccine for dogs?
The efficacy, I don't know too much about the Lyme's vaccine, about the efficacy in dogs. I know that it's, let me see. I'm going to check the best place to look. Actually, this is for everyone here. The best place to look for veterinary advice is actually the Merck Veterinary Manual. So if you click in Merck Manual, but the veterinary one, it's wonderful. And you can look on it. You can type in like Lyme's, or you can type in any pathogen or disease or anything. And then you can choose either the pet owner version or the veterinary version, just so that everybody knows. Like a lot of vets use this. So the Lyme's vaccine itself, I don't actually know too much about it. I know that it's borreliosis, but it's bacterial. So Borrelia burgdorferi is a bacteria transmitted by ticks. And is there even a vaccine? No, it's a bacteria. There's no.
There used to be
Let me
a
see.
Lyme
But
for
what was
humans,
the
right?
But what is the actual
For dogs?
vaccine?
Yeah, I don't know.
Let me see. Is it like do 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 do? I'm on the Merck website, FYI. It's amazing. um, yeah, so there is a vaccine. It's against like one of the peptides, one of the protein like sequences, OSPF on the surface. I don't know how often. Yeah, it's a recombinant vaccine. Yeah, so it looks actually like it's pretty effective.
Hmm.
Um, as per the Merck veterinary manual, which is updated like literally weekly. I would say that if you have access to it, then to definitely get it for your pet, especially if you're in an area of exposure to ticks, like if you have ticks in your area, which a lot of the United States is year round. Here in Montreal, we're lucky that in the winter, for the winter months, we don't. So a lot of people don't give tick prevention in the winter, but this winter has been especially warm. So there's actually been some cases of um, like parasitic infections in dogs where they normally don't have, like, flatworms and things like that, and even ticks, because the snow has melted so many times, unfortunately, and the insects are not dormant.
So, but your friend Bioinformatics says Angela is so swole.
Oh
Love
my
to
god,
see your
James.
workout ethic. What does swole mean? Do you know?
Swole means like strong and like, so basically when you're at the gym and you're working out, you get what's called like a pump. So a pump in your muscle. So it's
Yeah,
like lots of perfusion, lots of blood in your muscle. And then that can make you look swole. So it just means like strong. And
I see.
he's just joking, Ansley. Um, I mean, I guess I'm pretty strong. I consider myself strong because I train a lot, but he's just joking. Freaking so
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay to joke. Mark Martin wants to know, when can we have non-allergenic cats?
I mean, there are the Sphinx. The Sphinx are hypoallergenic, and I think there's another breed. There's another breed that's considered hypoallergenic, but the Sphinx are those cats that look like rats. They
They
have
have
no
no hair,
hair.
right? They have no hair, right?
Yeah, they're hypoallergenic. And then there's also, I forget what the other breed is. There's another breed that does have fur that's also considered hypoallergenic, just like the Labradoodles and all of these other mixed breeds now in dogs that are like hypoallergenic.
Susan Kay said there are serious scientists who know cellular and molecular level of exercise adaptation. Dr. Karen Esser is one of many examples.
Oh, cool. I'll write down her name.
Write down that name. Yep.
Karen Esser.
All right. Now, David has a question for you. Several horse trainers are being banned for excessive deaths within their barn. Is overuse of EOP, a disguised performance drug, the problem with equine cardiology?
I mean, EOP referring to erythropoietin, I'm guessing. Um, Let me check if that's what they're referring to.
Yeah. Well, erythropoietin is
Uh,
EPO, but he may have reversed
yeah,
it.
I
I don't know.
think he might be referring to erythropoietin, which would be to stimulate red blood cells, which is for increasing oxygen carrying capacity of horses. Um, but it can also increase like the hematocrit, and it can be dangerous if it's given a lot. But I don't know enough about equine specific, like the use of erythropoietin in horses. I know that it is used, but one barn specifically, that seems trainers are being banned. Disguised performance drug, the problem with equine cardiology. Well, erythropoietin, I'm not sure in horse racing. So this is like a whole niche thing. If erythropoietin in horse racing is even allowed, because in humans it's considered performance enhancing. Like Lance
Mm,
Armstrong got caught for using EPO, like erythropoietin, um,
great.
which yeah, it's a horse blood builder exactly. So it's erythropoietin. Um, so it depends, I think, where you live as well. I'm not sure if in the United States it's allowed, because I know in Europe, um, certain parts of Europe, you're not allowed to use it in horse racing, and they can check for it. But maybe it is here. I don't know. And it's true that if you use too much of it, then obviously your hematocrit can go up a lot. So then your blood is more viscous. So then it can cause cardiac issues in horses. But in this specific barn, I can't speak to. I don't know what's going on there.
S-
Um,
Okay, so Visto says, my puppy loves to kill baby possums. What diseases could they get from them, Australian ones.
Awesome. I mean, does Australia have rabies? I think they're rabies free, aren't they? Australia?
Don't know.
Because rabies would be one, but let me just check. I think the continent might be rabies free. Let's see. It's oh yeah, there's no rabies in Australia. I'm right. Okay. So rabies, no, but any other, even just bacterial, like bacteria that could be in their mouth, streptococcus, even like in cats, anything under their claws, you wouldn't want to get. If your puppy, you don't want puppies first of all playing with possums because they could scratch them, and then whatever is under the possum's claws can get on your dog. Also, if the mother possum comes around, she could potentially really hurt your dog, your puppy. So that would also not be ideal. I don't know if there's any coronaviruses in possums, speaking of that specifically, but mostly bacterial, I would say, because there's no rabies in Australia. But and also the mother possum, you wouldn't want her to be around and attack your puppy. So I would keep them away. And just like the feces could have, viruses. I don't know specifically which, because obviously I don't know possum viruses, but I mean, or bacteria in them in general. You wouldn't want your animal around like too many wild animals. Just like with a squirrel, you know what I mean? Like you don't want to have your puppy like playing with a squirrel necessarily, because they're not necessarily clean animals.
Okay, so here's one from two characters I can't read. In an office hours, it was said that rabies is invariably fatal. Yeah, I think I said that last time with Michael Schmidt. Fields disagrees. Fields Virology, quoting mortality based on bite site. So if you're bitten on the hands, 15 to 40%. Is this due to forming antibodies before reaching the CNS? I don't know. If you're bitten on the hands, it takes longer for the virus to get to the CNS, and it may be that you can get vaccinated. I don't know if they're quoting mortality based on, post-exposure vaccination or not. Because I know that in untreated rabies, and Angela, maybe that untreated rabies is almost invariably fatal, no?
In animals?
In humans,
Yes.
in humans.
Oh, in humans? I mean, in humans, I don't know as much. I know that once it reaches the central nervous system and then people start getting the typical, ataxia, hydrophobia, because they can't swallow. So then they're afraid of water because they can't swallow, because their nerves become paralyzed, like all of these things. A lot of it is just because they can't ingest liquids anymore, right? Same thing with dogs.
Yeah.
And other species. And then if they can't literally swallow or ingest food or water, then they're going to die, even if it's it's indirectly from the virus.
Okay. Neva says, in terms of feral hogs, I hear you have some doozies up there in Canada.
Feral hogs? Really? I mean, do we even have wild hogs in Canada? As far as I know, we don't. Let me Google this. Do we have wild pigs? Nah. I've seen them in Italy. Like in Sardinia. Wild pigs, Canada. Let's see. Oh, there are wild pigs in Quebec. Wow, I did not know this. There you go. Wild boar. You're right. Neva, I did not know that, because it's not like around here, Montreal. Like I've never seen a wild pig. This must be far in the forest somewhere. Interesting. There you go. The more you know. I won't be consuming any of these hogs.
Let's see. DR wants to know, what has been the experience with coronavirus vaccines in veterinary medicine?
Oh, there's a ton of coronavirus vaccines in veterinary medicine. Well, there's tons of coronaviruses in animals. There's I think we've spoken about it on TWiV before, the feline infectious peritonitis virus. So FIP, that's a coronavirus. There's infectious bronchitis in poultry is a coronavirus. There's coronavirus in cattle. Actually, one of the endemic coronaviruses, I believe it's OC43, is believed to have spilled over from cattle into humans in the, I think it was like late 1800s, I think is when it was estimated to have spilled over from OC43 from cattle into humans. So cattle as well. Ferrets, I believe, also have a coronavirus. There's another coronavirus in ferrets, and dogs as well. So, and there's vaccines to most of those, if not all of them, actually. Yeah. So there's lots of vaccines in our domestic species, and lots of coronaviruses. I know a lot of people like SARS-CoV-2 was the first coronavirus they had ever heard about, but in veterinary medicine and even in human medicine, I know that we've been dealing with like even just the endemic coronaviruses for a long time. Um, I mean, in veterinary medicine, probably more, because before SARS-CoV-1, did people really talk that much about like even the endemic coughs? Did we know that much about them? I know we have for maybe like 20 years.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
hardly anyone worked on them, right?
true.
And
Yeah,
we didn't even think there was antigenic variation until someone looked at it and found out that, yeah, there is in the
true.
endemic coronaviruses. And I remember just the year before the pandemic, I think, or maybe a few years before, there was an epidemic of SARS-CoV in pigs in China. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Severe acute
exactly.
diarrhea syndrome coronavirus, which
In the
spilled
pigs,
over from a bat into pig farms. Yeah,
which I forgot to say, pigs obviously have coronaviruses as well.
yeah, yeah, for
Definitely. I
sure.
think PEERS is a coronavirus, the porcine reproductive respiratory syndrome, I believe
Right,
is a
right.
coronavirus. Yeah.
Andrea is from Florida. I love the exercise podcast to come. Can we do an episode for over 50 age group? Yes.
For sure. Actually, so Darren did his master's in aging and in muscle. So he's really interested in how muscles change over time and in muscle wasting and aging. And then also like, exercise in more advanced ages. Obviously 50 is not old. I'm not saying that's old at all. Just like in aging, how muscles change over time. And we also want to do an episode on um potentially on hibernation, because hibernation is it's very interesting. So these animals are not eating for months at a time, and they have these mechanisms of muscle preservation. Bears, squirrels, different animals that hibernate, and there's a lot of science actually behind it that's really interesting. And I think there's
Mm.
a lot we can learn humans about that as well. So, stay tuned.
Airy Ozone wants to know how important is the relationship between exercise and food?
So important. Everybody that you can exercise a lot, but unless you're one of these like freaks of God, if you don't also accompany that with a good diet, you probably won't look the way you're expecting to look. My opinion. This is just my opinion, because especially with the older you are, your metabolism changes.
Mm.
And if you're only exercising but you're still eating all the same stuff you were before, it's going to be a lot harder to try to get your goal weight or whatever that goal is. And I think it's actually better, at least in my experience, fixing food first, even before exercising. A lot of people experience more weight loss with only dietary changes.
Yeah.
Then, if you do both, that's even better, obviously, even just like walking every day, just adding like a half an hour walk every day, and then excluding like one of the things that you consider excessive in your diet every day, like small changes. People that try to make really big changes in their diet or exercise routine a lot of the time it's just very difficult to maintain and to sustain. So I think like small differences, small changes over time are the best for sure. That's just my opinion. Yeah. That's what works for me.
Nicola says if Vincent decides to branch out of biology related podcasts, I vote for This Week in Mathematical Physics or something like that. I'd love some hardcore math podcasts. So, if anyone wants to propose a podcast, we'll listen to your pitch, and I won't be part of it, but we could always produce it. We have a pretty big network of listeners and growing, and so it's a good place to make a new science podcast. I think that's cool.
I'm sure my dad would want to be part of it. He's a mathematician, but he has enough things on his plate. But he's a mathematician. He's still actively teaching as well, just like you, Vincent, at 72 years old. He loves it.
Cool. He's 72.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a year older than me. Cool.
Yeah.
Carol says, I've been doing yoga for over 20 years. It has really helped my aches and pains, keeps me flexible, calm, and happy.
That's great.
So
We also will probably do a yoga episode because people love yoga. So, we can talk about like flexibility and mobility and keeping toned. Are you going to go, Vincent? You said you would try yoga.
Yeah. So when we were talking about exercise on that TWiV, um, uh, you guys suggested that I do yoga, right? To get some flexibility. So I'd like to. I have to find a studio, and people say, oh, if you don't like this one, switch, find another. I don't have a lot of time to do all that. I'm kind of wrapped up in microbe TV, so I'm not sure what to do. If I should just find one, I want one close by so I could walk over at lunch and do an hour and come back. But I really would like to do it. I'd love to improve my flexibility. Yeah.
Okay, well then even I can look for you. There must be so many places near you, Vincent. It's New Manhattan. You guys have like a gym on every corner almost.
Really?
Yes. I can, by tomorrow morning, I will send you a gym within 1 kilometer of the incubator. 1 kilometer, sorry, 500 meters. Let's say 500 meters. That's even closer. Is
Okay.
that too far? How many blocks is that? Like 10? No,
Well, half a mile. A
6.
mile is 20 blocks, so 10 blocks is half a mile.
So half a
I
mile.
can
A
walk.
mile
I
is
can walk it.
1.6 kilometers. So that's like 800 meters. Okay. I'll find something within 10 blocks. You'll see.
Okay. I'm good with that.
Okay.
Let's see. Jessica wants to know, how much are you squatting?
So my max squat right now is 225 pounds. So that's exactly on a 45-pound barbell. That's 2 plates. I think I can do a bit more, but for now, that's my max. So 225 pounds, which is like it's like 102, 102 kilos. So when you pass 100 kilos, that's like a good mark. Like, um, it's like but I'm pretty big. Like I have potential to squat more. What I mean is I'm 5'10", so I'm like a tall woman. I weigh like, I don't know, 155, 160 probably. So it's not that much for somebody my size, but I'm trying to get my numbers up.
Let's see. All right, so that's an Italian talking to another Italian. And Peter says, my TWiV mug has started conversations as well. Yeah.
Cute.
But you usually don't go outside with your TWiV mug, right? That's why the phone is cool, because you're going outside. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like everywhere you're holding it. You go to any restaurant anywhere and people see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So Hans is talking to you in Spanish, so maybe you can tell us what he wants to know. Can you read it there,
Do you
Angela?
want me, I can read it in Spanish, or do you
Yeah,
want
yeah,
me
go
to read
ahead.
it just in English? Okay. Ángela, los pandas son animales más relajados y chistosos del reino animal. ¿Cómo han podido sobrevivir tanto tiempo fuera de cautividad? O cautiverio, I would say cautividad. So this is basically, pandas are some of the most relaxed and funny animals in the animal kingdom. How have they lived for so much time outside of captivity? So I think that before we encroached that much on their wildlife, on their habitat, they were fine. But we've been, they consume a lot of bamboo. It's the main portion, like the main part of their diet is bamboo. So they're still considered carnivores, although most of their diet is is plants, the pandas. But I believe they're still in carnivora, because if they're right, yes, I think I'm right. Somebody fact check me if not. But um, yeah, I think that they've been just consuming, bamboo and other leaf and whatever in the forest, and they've been fine. But as of now, we thought that they were adorable animals, and their reproductive rates are really low. So we want to have them in captivity, and then we're cutting down the forest. So the reproductive rates are low, and then they're also stressed. There's no forest. It makes sense that there's just not going to be as many pandas, right? Like in the beginning, there were
Yeah,
already
yeah.
few, and I think they only reproduce once every 2 years, and it's one panda at a time or something. So it's really hard, especially if they're stressed and they have no forest. And even in captivity, it's extremely hard to breed pandas. I think there was wasn't there news recently? Which zoo was it that had the first pandas were born in the zoo? I forget. Or they were no, from one, not the first pandas, from the one of the zoos, they were reintroducing some of the pandas back into the wild, I think. I forget where it was. I thought we talked about it on TWiV. I
Yes,
don't
I think
remember
we did.
now.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Yeah.
did.
I think was it in China actually? I
Yeah,
think it might have been in China,
maybe.
yeah.
So, folks, there are 200 of you here tonight. That's great. We only have 117 likes. So, below the video screen, hit the
Mhm.
like button. Helps us to attract more people to these streams. Um, we'd appreciate that. Let's see. Right. Very Nika. Privet. Have you seen that preprint about the viroid-like entities in the human microbiome that are being called obelisks? Yes, we have all on TWiV, and we're waiting for it to be peer-reviewed to see if it makes it. And then when it does, when it's published in some journal, we will do it for sure. It's very interesting, right? Little
I
RNAs.
haven't heard about this. What are these obelisks? I love this
They're
name.
small viroid-like RNAs. So they're RNAs, highly structured like viroids, and they're being called obelisks because of their shape, and they're in the human microbiome. So what they're doing there, I mean, we used to think viroids are only in plants. Now we're bioinformatically, at least, we're finding them everywhere, and this is a bioinformatic analysis as well.
Mhm.
Tryon wants to know, did we use attenuated vaccines against rabies of dogs?
There is an attenuated rabies vaccine, I believe. There's multiple rabies vaccines, but is the one that's mostly used attenuated? Um, Let me see. Mm. There's just very specific questions that I don't actually, because I know that there are multiple rabies vaccines, and depending on where you live in the world, it'll be one or another. Oh, because I believe in well, if you have to get, let's see, yes, yes, there is attenuated vaccines that are used in dogs. So depending on where you live in the world, it could be different, and your veterinarians could be using different vaccines if you're in North America versus Europe versus Australia, somewhere in Asia. Um, yeah.
So this person, bioinformatics, you know this person well?
That is Ansley. Yes, that is a very, very person very close to me.
So Ansley is like, he says he's trolling you.
Yes, I know he is. I know he is.
And he made a comment about your hair, but I don't need to read it, right?
What did he say? Oh
You
my
want to
god.
know? Should I bring it up?
Okay. Does your hair naturally poof like that, or do you
Yeah.
use spray? I just saw it. It does naturally poof like that, and he's jealous because he has less hair than I, let's just say. So I will also troll him back.
That's funny. All right, I just meant to me to make sure. Angry
Yeah.
Penguin wants to know, is histoplasmosis much of a risk to newborns if it's a single bird as an indoor pet?
Oh,
So,
okay.
so could you get histo
If
from
it's a
a pet
single,
bird?
what do they mean?
Can you get histo from a pet bird?
Like humans getting histo? They mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, if your bird is going outside and could potentially have histoplasmosis, then yes, it could infect, like it can infect humans. So ideally, your bird wouldn't be indoor, outdoor, or if a single bird, yes, one bird can have histo, and yes, it could infect like a human. Because yes, histo is zoonotic from
Yep.
birds to humans. I'm not sure how frequent it is in wherever you live, Angry Penguin, but um I wonder where. Maybe Angry Penguin lives in Antarctica, and then there's no histo because it's too cold. So I'm joking.
Okay. Spamlet says, Angela, you ought to add nutrition science principles in with the sports science. A hero to feature would be LZ Whittleson, food science pioneer. Is another name to write down. I mean, food science is all part of exercise, as you said before, right?
Yeah, no, Darren and I were already talking about that. We want to do nutrition as well. To have like nutritionists on and to talk about like different types of diets and how that can affect like performance and in different sports. I think all of that would be amazing. Thank you for the suggestion, Spamlet, LZ Widdenson.
Let's see here. Tona says, Angela, what is a learning strategy you used as a child or currently to help with your dyslexia?
Oh, wow. So when I was a kid, yeah, I wrote completely backwards. My dad was like, oh, my daughter's a genius. She's like Da Vinci, writing backwards. I wrote from right to left, and you put it in the mirror, and it was like completely inverted. And I'm left handed. So I think it was just a lot of, it was very difficult for me in school when I was young. Yeah, it was just when I would rush things, and even now when I was in vet school and I would write exams very quickly, I would invert like all of my letters, and I would take the letter from the next word and put it into the word that I was currently writing. So I think just slowing down, like I also am a little bit ADHD, also
Mm-hmm.
diagnosed when I was a kid. And so for me, it's more just like slowing down and focusing. So as a child, that helped a lot. And even now, um, focusing helps a lot. Like not having a lot of, background noise, other stimuli. Um, that tends to help. But it's better now. Like for me, it was very bad when I was a child, and it's slowly gotten better. Um, but yeah, I hope that if your kid has dyslexia, it's not too severe, and that they're not suffering too much as well.
GSD Bio says, what about TWiV stickers that are the right size for the average phone case? Yeah, it's a good idea. So we have microbe TV stickers, right? Here's one on one of my notebooks, and that fits on a
Mhm.
phone. So we could, but it's cool to have the whole spiel there, right? To have the virus and
Oh yeah.
everything, So I think I don't know how to handle the phone case. I mean, a number of you have said tonight that you'd be interested in having them, and not just TWiV, but maybe others. But I don't know how to do that in terms of production because it's, on a case by case basis. Oh, it's on a case by
Yeah.
case basis. How about that?
Literally. Literally.
Because there's so many different phones and so many podcasts and so forth. So
I
maybe
had the
someone has
sticker
some
on
ideas.
my I had the sticker on my previous phone case, and it fit perfectly. If you have an iPhone 13, it fits perfectly vertically.
Right.
So I don't know about other phones, but if it's the size of an iPhone 13, the micro TV sticker fits.
Jessica just says deadlift. I don't know what that's in reference
Oh,
to.
that means she wants to know how much my deadlift is. So I can deadlift 300 pounds.
That's just you pick it up and straighten your knees, right?
uh, yes, very simplifying it a lot. Yes.
Yeah, you bend down, you grab the bell, and then you
The
stand up.
barbell. And then you
Yeah.
stand and you try to keep a straight back to not hurt yourself. You keep the bar nice and close to keep it near your center of mass. Because if
Do you
you put it
put
out in front of you,
do you push your hips out a little or keep them straight?
so when you're bending down, you bend doing like a hip hinge backwards.
I
Exactly. So
see.
your hips go back. Deadlifting is, yeah, deadlifting. I mean, I'm trying to get a heavier deadlift, but yes, for now it's 300 pounds.
So
The
what
person that I
muscles?
know, oh, that's so your posterior chain. So it's mostly hamstrings and glutes, but it also activates some quadriceps and then your back as well, because you have to keep your back nice and tight so your lats are also engaged.
Posterior chain. I love that.
Yeah. And anterior chain,
Oh my
posterior
god.
chain.
So
Yeah.
Angela, do you wear a weight belt?
I actually don't. I prefer not to wear a belt when I deadlift. So some people prefer to wear weight belts to feel the bracing of their core.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer not to because up until now, like deadlifting, I don't feel my low back. I don't have like any low back pain, and I can feel my core properly. I'm not against it. I just don't.
Yeah.
I normally don't use it. And I know someone that deadlifts like 500 pounds. They also don't use weight belts. Actually, Ansley, the one that was trolling me, he has a really strong deadlift. He doesn't use weight belts either. And as long as you can get like a good brace in your abdomen, because you don't want your spine to be compromised, right? So it's mainly for
Mm.
keeping a strong back, strong core, so that your spine isn't compromised during the lift. So yeah.
Andrew says I always lift the full fork. Very good, Andrew. Environmental says, I wonder if Angela's ever heard of the Les Mills program, Body Combat. I used to do that for years. It's half dancing, half mixed martial arts, and I loved it at least before my back took a crap.
Oh, well, I've never heard of that specifically, but body combat sounds like body pump, which is probably you do like lighter weights and you make it dynamic. And yeah, you're dancing with like, normally it's less than 5 pounds, 5 and 10 pounds, but you're just kind of like holding dumbbells and you do different exercises with them. And they're definitely like, they're great classes. And normally it's with people, you're in like a community, there's like 10 of them, 10 or 15, 20 people doing it, and there's music. They're really, really fun classes. That's what Rich and I were talking about, Vincent. He does body pumps sometimes too at the YMCA. Yeah.
Rima says, be aware of ACL injuries that are life-changing. Ask me, quad will never be the same.
Yeah, so ACL is the anterior cruciate ligament in the knee. I've never had ACL problems, which I'm very thankful for. I know people that have. But up until now, I've been pretty safe. I do use knee sleeves sometimes. So it's like basically like a piece of neoprene, or there's different things that you can put around your knees just to stabilize them and keep them like nice and basically stable. But I've never had ACL problems. But I do know in my family people with ACL and meniscus problems, which is like the cartilage between your knee, your femur, and your tibia. There's two of them.
Are ACL injuries common in weightlifting?
In Olympic weightlifting, I can't say. I know in CrossFit, and in different people that squat a lot, and if you're squatting and you're like turning when you squat, or if there's any sort of like motion as you squat. So an ACL injury, from what I understand, can happen also when you're like pivoting during a squat, or if there's like a weird motion and then the ligament can break, either like completely detach or like overextend. I don't know too much specifically about ACL injuries. I'm not an orthopedic anything. I just know that that some people squatting do suffer from ACL rupture. I have never.
So you said something I don't know. What is CrossFit?
So CrossFit is a basically high intensity. Okay, how to explain this? CrossFit is basically exercising with a lot of intensity with weights. And so there's like different modalities. You can train strength portions. So when you're training like deadlift, squat, all of these things we're talking about. And also Olympic weightlifting is involved in CrossFit. So clean and jerk, snatch. And then there's also like running, cycling. So we have like more intense aspects of it that you do conditioning. That's what we call conditioning, like when you're on a machine or if you're running outside, and endurance. And then there's also aspects that are more like strength based. So we put together high intensity with strength and then some technique. And I also do CrossFit at the Waverly gym here in Montreal. And it's super fun. And then I pair that with strength training at another gym where I do more like accessory movements to make sure that the muscles that I don't use in CrossFit are also strong.
Wow. So, if you were independently wealthy, how many hours a day would you work out?
I don't think more than 2.
Really?
Like 2. Yeah, because there's a certain point where if you work out too much, your central nervous system gets so fried and you're just so tired. Like certain days I might do like 3, but then I'm not going to work out every day either. You need recovery. One of the most important things about muscle growth, as most exercise physiologists will say, is your muscle grows when you're not in the gym. Not in the gym, your muscle's not growing, you're breaking it down. The muscle's going to grow when you're sleeping and you're recovering at home. So if you're training every day and overtraining and not sleeping, it's going to be hard to grow muscles. So, yeah.
So, here in Manhattan, there are many health clubs, as you said before, and there's some people who spend all day there. They have a great job, they make a lot of money, they don't have to work every day. And I know people have told me that they see people there all day long.
But do they actually train all day, or are they like having a coffee, doing whatever, talking to people? Because I could chill at the gym for 6 hours, but only train for 2.
If let's say you're an Olympic weightlifter, right? How much training a day do you have to train 8 hours a day?
So if you're a professional Olympic weightlifter, and
Yeah.
you're going, let's say, to the Olympics or to like that is your job.
Yeah.
The ones that I follow, at least, and like those people that I know that do that, train normally in 2 sessions. So they'll have like a morning session and an afternoon session. They'll take off time in the middle. Sometimes they do it all together, but in total, it can be like, yeah, 6 to 8 hours a day. So they'll do
Wow.
like 3 hours in the morning and then 3 hours at night or something. They'll do like a really heavy lift, let's say, or like volume training. It also depends like where they are in their training cycle. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
when it's your job, you're training a lot. And then they also have to focus on eating a lot, sleeping a lot, and recovering a lot because they're training so much that their body like
Wow.
takes quite the beating. I don't do that. I am not like a pro anything.
Well, you have a day job, right?
Exactly. I mean, I'm in an immunology lab hanging out with T cells most of the day.
Tona wants to know, Angela, what long exercises do you do to prepare for your breath-holding deep scuba dive trips? Oh, she
So
meant
you
lung,
can,
not long, but lung
yeah,
exercises. Yeah.
yeah. Well, maybe she means long and lung because it's both. But so when I'm in Canada, it's a little bit, well, when I'm in Canada, when I'm not training for free diving, it's a little bit harder. I don't actually do any training while I'm here.
Mm.
But then if I'm gonna go to Spain or if I'm gonna go on a trip where I'm gonna do free diving, then normally just the few first times I go diving, it's a little bit harder. Like my CO2 sensitivity is really low, meaning that when I hold my breath, I feel very overwhelmed by like the CO2 very quickly because that's like you have a your body is like wanting to breathe. It's called the urge to breathe. That's what we literally call it. And the best thing that you can do to hold your breath longer is actually relax. So one of the main strategies, any free diver, you see them on the surface before they go down and they're just meditating. They're just a form of meditation, let's say. They're just sitting there with their eyes shut, really deep breaths, very slow, very calm. And then you just take one breath and then you go down. And it's all about keeping your mind calm and not swimming quickly or abruptly because, like a lot of you guys know, muscle contraction takes oxygen. So it takes energy. And there's myoglobin in your muscle that the oxygen is also bound to that can be used up very quickly. All of the oxygen in your system, your muscles need that, right? So if you start contracting all of your muscles really fast, you're using up all of your oxygen because your cells need oxygen and you won't be able to last long. So you have to make sure to slowly move underwater to preserve as much oxygen as you can and then also keep your mind calm because if your heart rate increases, your blood pumps faster and then you will also use up more oxygen. So it's all about staying calm in free diving. You'll never see people like swimming super fast or sprinting underwater. Then they're always like beautifully swimming slowly and like calm. I want to do an episode on free diving actually and on the physiology of free diving and humans like adaptations that we have to free diving, just like other mammals, which is called the mammalian dive reflex. And I can talk about that in a future podcast.
All right. Tryon wants to know, what dog breeds are affected by ivermectin?
Affected meaning it's toxic to them?
I suppose.
Because most breeds it's fine, but there's some sensitivities. I think it's the border collie, the shepherd, Australian shepherd. Certain shepherd dogs are sensitive to ivermectin. So yeah, I think what he's referring to, Tryan. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Border collies and shepherds, different types of shepherds can't have ivermectin because they have extremely bad adverse reactions. And I think some terriers as well. I don't remember like all of this breed specifically. I know that the collie though for sure, the Australian shepherd for sure. I think the German shepherd maybe as well. Yeah, lots of these herding dogs can't have ivermectin. So if you're using antiparasitics, you have to choose a different antiparasitic instead of ivermectin.
MN wants to know, what's your favorite cardio?
I hate running. Hate it. Not my thing. Even though people are like, "Oh, you look like a runner." I'm like, "Okay." Just because I'm tall. But no, I hate running. I really like I guess the bike and the rowing machine. I like the rowing machine as well, like the C2 rower. I don't know if you've ever used that, Vincent, where you sit
Mm,
and you row.
many
I
years
like the
ago, yeah.
rowing. Yeah, I like the rowing machine. We use that in CrossFit all the time. And then I also like stationary bike, but I like doing cardio like CrossFit style where we're doing multiple things just at high intensity, like jumping over a box. I don't know, doing some pull ups and then running and doing like 500 meters on the rower and then going back and doing like jumping over a box or whatever. I like it to be dynamic, not just sitting on the rower for like 45 minutes. I hate doing like steady state cardio. So boring to me. Yeah.
Well, also, MN says, Vincent, what's your favorite cardio? I only do one. I do treadmill 3 times a week
There you
because
go.
that's what I have, and that's fine. I used to, years ago, when I was in my 30s, I went to a gym and I used to go to the machines, right? I had a program and I did stepping. Remember the steppers?
Mhm.
Machines. I did that. And I did the rowing machine. I really liked the rowing. And then one day I threw out my back and I said, that's it. No more of this. Because if you don't do it right, it's easy to. I threw out my lower back and it hurt for weeks, right? So,
Yeah,
I
you
don't
have
know.
to use your legs in the row, or you have to push with your legs and then follow with your arms. And yeah, it's true, your back can be compromised if you get
Yeah.
tired and you start like leaning forwards and pulling with your back. Yeah.
But I stopped doing that years ago and didn't do anything for many years. And it's just in the past, I don't know, year or two, I started to do treadmilling. So it's my favorite because it's the only thing I do. I don't like running either. I used to run a lot when I was a postdoc. I ran, and it was just painful. The more miles you run, your feet hurt, your knees hurt. Right? It's just
That's true.
not working.
I dare say humans are not built to run. Hot take, come at me. I mean, humans are we're biped. Other animals, you see animals that are quadruped that are very, very evolutionarily, you can just tell they're built to run. Humans with the shapes of our feet and everything, for short sprints, yes, but this like long distance running, humans, all of it, all long distance runners end up getting knee replacements and a million things. I know that
Mm.
I'm being a little bit polarizing with this, but that's just I also don't like running. So
Well, there's a book called what is it
born
called?
to run.
No, the butt, the butt.
Oh, the butt, the other one, yes.
So they say that in that book they say that the human butt evolved to make us faster runners, so we would get away from animals that were chasing us.
Exactly.
And
Short sprints.
there's this race in I think it's Colorado. It's a multi-day race of humans versus horses. And a human usually wins because the horses can run fast for a bit, then they get tired and they have to stop. But the human
Mhm.
can run at a pretty good pace for a really long time, have great endurance. And so I don't know if that's true or not, but that's it.
Do they
Uh,
destroy their knees is the question.
well, yeah, that's right. They probably destroy their knees.
I don't know.
All right. DR says, I'm closer in age to Vincent than Angela, so my resistance exercise has to be spread out across the week, one body part at a time. Trained as a cancer rehab exercise pro in my 50s.
Okay. That's good. At least you're training, even if it's just one at a time. That doesn't matter. It's better than not training at all.
Kang wants to know, does muscle building help with oxygen capacity in free diving?
Um, I mean, I'm not an expert in this, but for example, marine mammals have, well, they have more myoglobin. I guess it's not the same. I guess if you have more muscle, you'll have more myoglobin that can potentially be bound to that muscle, and then oxygen can then be bound to that myoglobin. So, in theory, yes, I will discuss with Darren. But in theory, I would say yes, because if there's more muscle, then there can be more myoglobin, oxygen binds to myoglobin, and then it's available in your body. So, but at the same time, there are other parts of being having more body mass in general could be deleterious for other things in free diving. So there's like a little
Mm.
bit of a trade off. Most people are very lean actually that do free diving.
All right. A virus question from DR. How
There
are
you
viral kinetics and viral dynamics properly defined? kinetics within host, dynamics, measures of transmission to host, or vice versa. Well, it depends what you want to know, right? Kinetics can be within cells, right? You can do replication in cells and culture and measure both kinetics and dynamics. So kinetics, I don't know how these words play out, but kinetics would be the virus production over time, right? I don't know, what would dynamic be with respect to that? I'm not quite sure. I don't know if we use that word.
Kinetic, yeah, dynamic. I don't know what that means. Dynamic measures of transmission. What does that mean?
And then you could do it in a host, right? You could have animal models where you measure, production of virus in, say, the respiratory tract after infection with time. You could also measure transmission. How are they done properly? With sufficient numbers of animals and controls, and do a time zero all the time. If you don't do a time zero, in my opinion, it's worthless. And many people don't do time zeros anymore. I don't know why. It's a pet peeve. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Oh, and also DR says, which viral infections have a viremia phase? The ones where virus gets in the blood. That's a crappy joke. So let's see if we can. I'm not going to name all of them, but poliovirus is on my list because I worked on it forever, and I know it's got a viremia phase. Measles virus has a viremia phase. Smallpox had a viremia phase. The mosquito-borne illnesses typically have viremia phases because the mosquito is injecting virus into the blood, right? So, yeah, I mean, there are many of them, many more than I have mentioned also. Let us see here. Patricia said, I'm guessing by many TWiV presenters, participants, hosts, etc., getting together at conferences unmasked, that you are not that concerned about COVID possibly being an endovascular problem. No, I don't really see any good evidence that it is an endovascular problem, because the people doing the experiments are not virologists and they're not being done properly. So no, but I try to be careful, right? I do try to be careful. You have any thoughts on that, Angela? Do you think that COVID is an endovascular problem?
I think that there's a lot of heterogeneity in like how COVID presents in different people and people with vascular issues in general. But I personally now, I'm almost more afraid of the flu. I got sick with the flu recently. I say flu. I don't know what it was, but it presented as influenza and it was terrible. I think that everybody takes whatever risk that they see, whatever they see fit, literally. If I were to be interacting with elderly people, then I would probably wear a mask. But I don't have any people in my life right now. My grandparents have passed. I don't have interactions with the elderly or immunocompromised on a daily basis. If I did, I would probably be a lot more careful. Even before Christmas, I was a little bit more careful because I was going to be with my parents, which are both like over 70 years old, which they're super healthy though. I didn't want to come in sick and then get 15 people sick. So, but then we also risk 15 of us being together, someone getting ill. So we just accepted that risk because we wanted to be together at Christmas. So I think it's just on an individual basis, whatever you think, whatever risk you want to take and who you're going to be gathering with, take that into account if you think that they're more sensitive or more compromised, be that age or any other therapy they might be on or taking.
Tryon wants to know what antiviral can be used against parvoviruses.
Parvo? Is there an antiviral against parvo? I don't think so.
There's a
monoclonal.
There's a monoclonal for canine.
Is there?
Yeah. That's the only one I know
about. Okay. Well, then this monoclonal, but veterinary. Yeah. I don't think, even if there was, they're not used. Definitely not used. So antivirals, yeah, there's what is it? Oseltamivir? Oseltamivir can be used.
Oseltamivir, yeah.
Also Tamavir. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce any of these names. Yeah, also Tamavir can be used. I'm just seeing here once again on the Merck Veterinary Manual. It's an amazing resource for all of you. Now you know. Yeah, so also Tamavir seems to be the only thing that's used in parvo if you're going to be using an antiviral. Ideally, they would be vaccinated. But yeah.
Tono says, Angela, can you bring your mother on future podcasts? She must be extraordinary.
Yeah, my mom's great. My mom, she's not really a podcasting person though. She's barely uses her iPhone. She leaves it at home all the time. We can never reach her. Yeah, she's wonderful, but I don't think she'd be coming on a podcast. I'll tell her, but I don't think this is really her environment.
So Angela, bioinformatics says you have the wrong person.
No, he's just trolling. He's not. No, he's not.
Okay.
He messaged me. He texted me as well, so I know it's him for a fact.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Razor says, may I ask a question about SARS-CoV-2 in deer populations? Were there variant changes akin to infections in the human, alpha, delta, omicron, etc.?
Variant
No,
changes. So
in deer, I
San
don't
Ana
believe so, right?
No, I don't think so. But yeah, we spoke about this at McGill a little bit when you were here. They
Yeah.
were looking at SARS-CoV-2 in deer, in the white-tailed deer in North America. But I think no.
Yeah, mostly they reflect what is currently in humans,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
it's spill
And
back.
it can sustain itself. The infection can sustain itself within the deer population for a very long time. We did see that. For even, I think they found the alpha variant like a year later or a year and a half after it had peaked in humans. It was still circulating or within deer populations. I don't remember the exact time, but it was for quite a long time.
MN says, why would measles stay in the air so much longer? Because it's in droplets, right? In the tiniest droplets, it's in those, and it's enough virus to transmit. And those stay suspended for hours because they're so small. They just float on the air currents, right? Yep. Let's see. Nebby says, do cats transmit herpes? I keep my diabetic cat regulated with twice daily testing and insulin shots. Give him lots of face kisses lately, and I got a cold sore. Coincidence, right?
Well, herpes viruses are pretty species specific. So no, you don't have to worry about your cat herpes. Like, as far as I know, Vincent, I know you know this as well, that herpes viruses are quite species specific. So I would say it's probably a latent herpes virus that you already had, and just like, coincidence that it erupted on your face at that time, because your cat virus, as far as we know, cannot infect humans. Your herpes virus from cats.
Will says, why is COVID-19 still called a respiratory virus when measles' first symptoms are respiratory but not regarded as respiratory? The main place where SARS-CoV-2 reproduces is the respiratory tract, and you get respiratory symptoms. That's why it's a respiratory virus. Measles is transmitted by respiratory secretions, but you don't get respiratory disease. Do you get respiratory disease from measles? Are there any respiratory symptoms?
I think there are, no? Well, I mean, I want to say yes, but I'll go fact check.
Yeah, fever, high fever, cough, runny nose, cough and runny nose. Okay. There are respiratory symptoms. But yeah, we don't call it a respiratory virus, I suppose, although a big part of its pathogenesis is respiratory. So I don't know why that's true. John says, thoughts on free-range chickens.
John. Sorry, John was here last time. I remember his picture.
Yeah. Is it a misleading label at all? Like, does a window just have to be open for it to apply? Also, with bird flu risks, should free range be discouraged?
So free range chickens, once again, depending on where you live in the world, will have a different definition. But normally, so in Europe, they have their own thing. In North America, we have our own thing, even between the US and Canada. But it mainly means that these animals have X amount of time outside every day, and they have like X amount of square meters that's been defined. That is exposure to sunlight, basically. So they're outside in an open space that doesn't have four walls. So it's not just a window. That's that's not considered free range. They have to be able to go outside and then come back inside and have a closed aviary, have like two separate spaces. And it is true that obviously waterfowl, like migratory birds, could be carrying influenza, and that could be high risk to birds that are outside free range. If you're a smart farmer, you don't have a pond near your chickens or any sort of ducks or fowl like waterfowl nearby. That's normally very, like, most of these farmers know that, and if not, their veterinarians will tell them to not have contact with birds. Obviously, it's very difficult because even like Canada geese, I don't know if you guys, Vincent, you guys hear them, I'm sure, even in
Yeah,
New
sure.
York.
Of course.
They're all over the place. They're migrating all over the place, and they could just like drop into your, like, where your chickens are. So that's possible.
Yeah.
So you have to be vigilant to make sure that ideally you wouldn't have any water sources nearby where those birds want to be, sitting and hanging out and,
Yep.
getting in contact with your chickens and being, because they're going to go try to eat your chicken's food too, right? So yeah, ideally it would be an enclosed space, some sort of netting around it so that other birds couldn't get in, but that's not always true.
Calliope says Lululemon was Vancouver based but got sold to an American company, I believe. Okay.
The more you know.
The DR says 1991 Special Olympics athlete from Arge passed into the Metrodome in Minneapolis and spread measles to two people more than 30 meters up into the stadium, rising currents. Yeah, that's very typical. Patricia says, why do people call Lyme disease limes? That's not correct. No, it's Lyme disease. I hope we didn't say limes.
I might have said limes. I don't even know. Lyme's disease, yes. Borrelia burgdorferi is the agent that causes limes. I actually wonder, why is it limes? I'm sure that must have been like some researcher that first identified it. Is that a last name? I don't actually know.
Let's look it up.
Let's Google it.
Why is it called Lyme disease? Lyme, Connecticut.
Oh, the place. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Because it's really just borreliosis, right?
Yeah.
Like what we say.
Borrelia burgdorferi.
Exactly.
Willie Bergdorf. So here's the link for Merck Manual, merckvetmanual.com.
Perfect. Thank you, Steph.
That Angela was talking about before. And here is Portia, who says, have you answered a question I had submitted a while ago about what all the first author, second author, etc. on a published paper mean? Yeah, I think you sent that into TWiV, but we can answer it again here. Like if you have a paper with a first and last author, which is what it used to be in the old days. I published 2 such papers in my PhD. This last author is whose lab it's in. This is the way it used to be. And then the first author did the experiments. And the two of them should be collaborating, obviously. But now you have many, many authors. You have co-first, second authors. I mean, you can assume that the first and the co-first, second, third authors, they've done all the experiments pretty much. Most of them. Because then you have a lot of authors in between that have probably contributed a little. Maybe they gave reagents. Maybe they did some sequencing. And then at the end are the PIs, the principal investigators of the lab or labs, right, who write the grants and run the lab and so forth. And so people fight for the first position and the last positions, co-first author,
Yeah.
corresponding author, which are those last ones. That's the way I view it. What do you think, Angela?
No, yeah. So I think a lot of people, first and last, I think is easier to understand. Just like first author is the person that contributed the most work, experiments. So normally it is a graduate student or a postdoc, some sort of trainee in that person's lab. And then the last author is whoever is funding it. Yeah. Who has the grants? Whose lab is it? And then if there's co-first, it's normally because 2 people have contributed the same amount of work towards this body of work, like the manuscript. And then everybody in between is mostly other people in the lab, other collaborators that you've helped with some experiments, you've done some things. So yeah, I think you said it very well, Vincent. That's basically it.
Richard says there was a dog respiratory disease, big news a couple of months ago. Hard to find info lately. What's a good source?
So we talked about this on TWiV actually, but none of the sources were really good. I would say The Merck veterinary manual is very good. And if it ever
Mm.
actually becomes defined, they will update it there. That was just something that there was no sequencing done, right? It was just like they were calling it some like unknown respiratory illness, but there was no identification of the pathogen, so we have no idea. It could have just been something that we already know, that a pathogen that already exists, but it was just presenting differently, or there was an outbreak in a new area. Like, we have no idea. So unfortunately, we don't know.
Tona says, isn't there a new cat food that makes cat saliva less allergenic to humans?
I've never heard of this.
Okay.
Maybe it breaks down the, like, because there's a lot of lysozymes and things like enzymes in the saliva that maybe when they say allergenic, I mean, I'm not allergic to cat saliva, so I guess if you're allergic to cat saliva, um maybe there's something in it that's I have no idea. It seems very
Uh,
niche, having
so
cat saliva.
Carol, speaking of allergenic, Carol says, Mark Martin, my son lives in Seattle and found a breeder that breeds hypoallergenic cats. His Siberian cat is beautiful with lots of hair, but it cost over $3,000. Oh my gosh.
There you go. Those are the other ones. Yeah, yeah, because we were talking about the Sphinx, the Siberian cats. They're beautiful. Yeah, but it's so expensive. And also, I kind of have like a bone to pick with pure breeds. They're all riddled with disease and very sad. You need to breed, you know, outbreed. You need to genetic divergence.
So R2 said there's a Chinese version of oral remdesivir. I think there's something similar. It's not obviously the same molecule because they can't do that. But yeah, I think there is some similar molecule that we have, that even Daniel may have reported on lately.
Oh
Don't
yeah, I
remember.
haven't heard of this.
Silvio Pina finally made it to the stream. Greetings to the bravissima e bellissima Angela.
Thank you, Sylvia.
So
Thank you,
Sylvia
Sylvia.
visited the incubator. Sylvia's an animator for The Simpsons, and she left some.
Oh yeah, you showed us her stuff.
Yeah, it's her. Yeah, that's very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, that's wonderful.
Tryon wants to know if hibernation protects against rabies. Wow.
Um, I mean, it would protect if you're not encountering other animals during your hibernation, but the fact that actually against the viral replication, no, it shouldn't. I mean, if you're a bear and you get infected with rabies, hibernation, your metabolism can slow, but I wouldn't see that the virus wouldn't just randomly stop replicating and not make its way to your central nervous system. If anything, it would probably maybe increase, but I don't know. But in theory, no, it would not protect against rabies.
So Daniel wants to know if the Neanderthals were wiped out by SARS-CoV-2. No, it wasn't around. It wasn't around back
Let's
then.
say no.
It's a brand new
Didn't
virus,
exist.
and it wasn't around. They may have been affected by other things, but why they died out is, well, we speculate that they were killed off by Homo sapiens, right?
Yeah.
But no evidence for an infectious disease, as far as I know. Sylvia Pina said wild boars have been roaming around Rome since the pandemic in packs of families crossing the streets and everything. Wow. That's amazing. Wild boars.
I saw wild boars when I was in Sardinia, but never in Rome.
Yeah, Nicola agrees. Yeah, here in Italy, there's a big problem with wild boars going around cities. I mean, they're big animals. They could hurt you, right?
Well, yeah, and they can be quite aggressive if they're with their piglets, like if they're with their babies. Yeah.
Now,
and they have huge tusks.
All right. Steve says, speaking of opossums, can you explain EPM and how prevalent it is in the U.S.? I hope you know what that is. I don't know.
I don't even know what EPM is.
Okay.
Let me see. EPM possum on Google. Oh, it's a equine protozoal myeloencephalitis. Okay. Okay. Well, this is a protozoal parasite that can infect horses, but I'm not sure what the prevalence is in the United States. That's very niche. Let's see. Let's ask the Merck veterinary manual. Yeah, I know it causes CNS symptoms. Sarcocystis neurona is the parasite, and Neospora. I don't think it's that prevalent in the US, because if it was, I feel like I would know.
Okay.
But let's see if they have no, it's more in the Americas. So it's more in South America. The It doesn't seem to be very prevalent in the United States, but definitely in South America, it says here. There's no vaccine for EPM. Yeah, the diagnosis is based on neurological symptoms. Unfortunately, the horses get quite ataxic. But it doesn't seem like it's that big of a threat in the United States.
Okay. All right. So, with respect to rabies, Field says in the absence of vaccination, okay, the head face bites 40 to 80% fatal, hands, arms 15 to 40%. Once symptoms appear, 100%. So maybe that's what I'm thinking. Once you have symptoms, 100% fatality.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy Lit AZN says, my family used to have a monk parakeet. What's your experience with birds in veterinary medicine and your opinion of birds? Your
I think
opinion.
birds are so cool, actually. Like avian, the fact that birds exist and they have these air sacs in their bones and that they can fly, I think is amazing. Like, so many things
Mm.
about birds I find so interesting. I don't have that much experience with them myself, like treating birds. Like, I learned a lot about them in vet school, but I actually don't have a lot of experience with them. Normally, people specialize in avian species because they are like so complex.
Mm.
And there's a lot of, it's very different from mammals, like so many, even the drugs you use, everything. Like, normally, the only things I know really about birds is poultry farming and, but like pet birds. So different species that people have at home. I
Yeah.
don't know that much about, but I think birds are amazing. They're so cool.
Mm.
And the fact that, like, even this morning I was thinking about it, it was like minus 15 C yesterday. And there's these little sparrows flying all over the place, just like singing away. And I'm like, how are these even alive? It's so cold.
Yeah. It's
And they just
amazing.
like all
Yeah.
puff up together in the little trees. They're so cute. Yeah.
Abdul Aziz, thank you so much for your support of science communication. Finally, a podcast about something I understand. Throw some nutrition papers, Angela. Okay.
We will. We will.
Okay. Qigong is good for balance as one ages. You know what that is?
Is that like Tai
I
Chi?
bet
Is that
it's
like
like
some
Tai
sort
Chi,
of,
right?
yeah, it sounds like, I'm pretty sure it is. I've heard of that before, I think.
Here, other podcast ideas from Veronica. Exercise for mood disorders, also MECFS and post-exertional fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Lori says, Vincent, yoga with Adrienne on YouTube. I highly recommend. Plenty of choice, beginner sessions too. So what do you think about that, Angela?
Oh,
Doing it online instead of going to a studio. Is there a difference?
so my sister Oliviana does
Yeah.
yoga with Adrian every January. She does like the 30 days with Adrian, and she says she loves it. But in your case, Vincent, I think it would be better than nothing. But I think that in your case, it'll be best to go to an actual yoga studio or to go to an actual class and get yourself out of the incubator, moving during the day. Because if it's at home, you're going to get home, you're going to be tired, it's going to be late, and you won't want to do the yoga. But if it's during the day and you have like an hour at the incubator, I think it's best to just get out, go, and then come back. But I
Okay.
think yoga with Adrian's great. I agree, Lori.
All right. We have about 12 minutes left. Let me get through some of these other questions here.
There's so many still. I'm
Yeah, a
looking
lot
at them
lot of
too. I don't know
questions.
which ones.
Here's one from Gustavo. Angela, what is your opinion about the future of animal experimentation in preclinical test trials? Do you think we can replace animals by another reliable tool, i.e., e.g., in vitro studies?
I think that it depends on your question and it depends on the experiment, right? There are certain things that using in vitro models, you just won't be able, in certain cases, you just need an actual organism with an immune system. For example, in immunology, it's very, very hard. Certain things you can do in vitro assays for, but once again, depends on your question and depends on the type of
Mm.
science that you're doing. But I think that if we didn't have to use animal models, we wouldn't. So a lot of in my case, for example, whenever I can do an experiment that doesn't include a mouse, and if I can use a cell line or something else, I will. But for me, for example, like T cells, I need to get them from a mouse. It's just not the same. Immortalized T cell lines are inferior, to say the least, and don't have the receptors and don't have interactions with other cells. And it's just, obviously, I think of it from an immunological perspective. I don't know, Vincent, if you have an opinion about in virology specifically, more. I think in structural virology, you can get away, obviously, with like not working with mice, but and preclinical trials specifically, it's definitely important to test in other animals that have similar immune systems to ours before putting anything into humans. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't see for a lot of for drug trials, right? In vaccine trials, you need to
Mm-hmm.
have an animal model to see how
Yeah.
they respond before putting them into people. I don't see how you get around that. So,
And it's
but
unfortunate. Like none of us like using. And I think Gustavo, this is actually, if I'm not wrong, Gustavo Viana is a postdoc. So he finished his PhD and he's at my gym. I think this is the same Gustavo. He's Brazilian. He's also has a PhD in, I believe, molecular biology. And I think this is the same person,
oh,
Gustavo.
you
I
think
will
so?
ask him
Okay,
later. Yes, because I think, well, that's his name. That's also his last name. So it must be him.
got it, got it.
Um, and I shared this on my Instagram, so he probably saw the live feed, and I like added the link, so maybe it's
Okay,
him. But yes,
all right.
unfortunately, Gustavo, I think that you still have to continue to use them, especially like Vincent said, with certain drugs before putting them into humans. We need to have some sort of, other animal model, similar immune system, etc., to test in first.
Tom, welcome. Tom is one of our moderators. So, Madison,
Hey,
Wisconsin.
Tom.
Thank you for dropping in. Uh, Vanity says Cafe Press has them. No, the phone cases. No, they don't actually.
No,
Not like this. This is I just designed this
ours are different
myself.
too,
Yeah,
because he had to design a special one for me.
for her phone because the lens is different and so forth. So every phone is different. Here's some names from John. Possible names for the pod: weighted data or data lifting or science gains.
That's cute.
Those are cute, right?
Um, I like those, John. Hopefully, everybody here, the 195 people that are currently listening, will be our first listeners on our podcast.
GSD Bio says, I recently learned from a bird veterinarian that one can get chlamydia, sitachi, for example, from pet birds. Is there a vaccine?
Yes, you can get chlamydia from birds. Vaccine for birds for chlamydia? Um, is there a vaccine in birds? Like I said, I don't know a lot about birds. Um, I'm using the Merck veterinary manual. Yeah, bird, is there? Mm, yeah, avian chlamydiosis. And I think no. So the chlamydia that birds get though, I don't believe is transmittable to humans. I think it's a different chlamydia. It's a different bacterial strain. But I guess this person is saying that his vet said that they could. Let's see if that's even true. No, there's no. Yeah, there's no vaccine. That's what I thought in birds. Um, and I thought that they were different strains. I thought that they were that they were different. That it wasn't zoonotic, but once again, I don't know that much
Okay.
about birds specific. It is Sitachi though. No, actually, yeah, that can. Yes, they're right. Yeah, but there's no vaccine. No. So that's why a lot of people actually don't kiss their birds. I actually do that. It's true. Like people say, like you have to be careful, especially with parrots, because parrots can carry chlamydia. Um, yeah, you can also just get them tested, and then you don't have to worry about chlamydia in your bird.
So Ted wants to know if there are any mRNA vaccines, new vaccines in clinical trials. Are there any in humans? I know they're in
Wait,
development, right?
in development, yeah, in development and clinical trials. I'm
I
not
don't
aware
think,
of any.
I think only preclinical, like
Which are the ones in preclinical though, to
some
give him something?
influenza mRNA
Yeah, influenza.
vaccines. There,
Yeah, flu.
I think some herpes virus vaccines,
Hmm.
simplex, EBV, I think. So,
Oh yeah, the BBV would be so great. I mean, all of
There
them
was
would be
a
great.
there was an EBV nanoparticle vaccine. We talked about it on TWiV that looked really good, developed in China.
Mm.
Right. Okie dokie. Let's see what else we have here. A lot of questions. I'm sorry to skip over them because we only have 10 minutes left here, and there are a lot. But Thomas says he prefers lifting Nutella.
I
Okay.
prefer to lift peanut butter, prefer to Nutella. I'm a peanut butter fan, huge fan.
Rach says, Angela, what exercise would you suggest for an elderly 60s with severe arthritis? I struggle to get fit these days. My diet is good. I limit carbs, very little sugar, also fast.
Interesting. So I am not a medical provider. So this take everything I say with a grain of salt. I would say walking is probably very good. I mean, my mom, she walks like 2 hours a day and she stays very lean. Like she eats, lots of legumes and all of this to also regulate her blood sugar because she's like pre-diabetic. But I would say safe bet is, once again, not a medical provider, but safe bet would just be walking. Walking is wonderful. And swimming. Swimming is low impact. It's good. It's easy on your joints, especially if you have arthritis. Just going for a swim, it's like good for your joints mobility because you can, like, obviously swimming, like the strokes, it's good for opening your chest, like moving, strengthening your muscles, but it's a lot less severe on your joints because obviously you're floating in the water. So walking and swimming are nice. And walking outside, vitamin D, all of those wonderful things from walking, endorphins.
So Jeff says, Mike, I keep losing these things. Mike
Like,
Metzner, it was before his
mhm.
time. He called for heavy lifting to failure with plenty of time to rest. Huberman interviewed Andy Galpin that discussed that the latest data supports that method.
Yeah. So I watched Jeff Biss. I watched all of the specials that Huberman had with Andy Galpin. He had like 4 episodes, and each of them were like 3 to 4 hours with Andy Galpin, which Andy Galpin is an exercise physiologist. He's wonderful. He has a podcast called Perform. It's really good. And if I can, I'm going to get him on on whatever this podcast is called.
Yeah. Perform is a good name. That's a nice name for a podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, but he already took it. So
I got it.
but yeah, so he has they went through so much data in those 4 episodes. It was at least like 12 hours. It was wonderful. And I think there's just a lot of different strategies with weightlifting depending on what you want, what your end goal is, right? If you want hypertrophy, if you want strength. And in those episodes, the Huberman Lab podcast, they go really deep into, like, specifically if you're looking for hypertrophy, and then they have a whole training methodology for that. If you're looking for strength, they talk about that. If you're looking for agility, they talk about that. So yeah.
Oh, Tona says, how you got your butt episode on Radiolab. It was the man versus horse episode, December 2019. There you go. That's exactly the one.
Okay, I'm going to write this down. I want to listen to this. I love Radiolab too.
Let's see. Oh my gosh.
What is it? A funny question again?
No, there's just a lot of questions left. And so Arioza wants to know if you've seen the phenomenal movie My Octopus Teacher. South African freediver forms an evident friendship with an octopus. Seems like a film combining some of your interests.
I have seen it. Yes, I have seen it. And I'm a little bit critical of this, as my friends know, only because, I mean, I think it's a wonderful story, and I think it's really cute with the octopus and how he goes and he visits him, and the kelp forest, like the videography is beautiful in that documentary. Just certain parts of it aren't really, I guess, ideal in free diving. So he's not really a free diver. He's more of like a snorkeler that goes to, see this octopus and all of that. There are just certain techniques that he does that are not really free diving techniques. Like removing your snorkel from your mouth is so important when you're free diving, because if you leave it in your mouth as you dive down, you're connecting the water directly into your mouth. You could inhale and die. So that's extremely dangerous. And they do that in that documentary. And because I get a little bit obsessive with these things, I was just like, oh, they need to, because then people are watching it and everybody watches this and then they're going to go try to do it. And that's the wrong way to do it because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
But as for the storyline, I thought it was wonderful. Octopus are extremely intelligent, and as you know, Vincent, and I
Yeah.
love octopus, and I love the whole story was the story itself was beautiful.
So Jeff says the latest research shows that resistance training improves osteoporosis outcomes in everyone, even people who start in their 80s.
That is true. So that's been known for a long time, especially in women. It's important because women are more prone to osteoporosis with age. Their bone density, they lose bone density faster, especially postmenopausal.
Right.
And loading the skeleton, so loading meaning like adding weight to your body, will increase bone density. So by doing weight training, it definitely, even no matter what age, obviously the younger you are, the more bone density you cannot lose, like you will prevent that loss. But for sure, especially with women, I'm trying to get my mom to also do weight training because she's has severe osteoporosis and she hasn't done that. So Vincent, that's also why I want to get you into the gym, to stay strong.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Load your skeleton,
All right.
put on a weighted vest when you walk around the incubator.
Very Nika says, any ideas about the relationship between vaccination and exercise? Can one get vaccinated and go to the gym the same day? What are the pros and cons?
I normally people, I mean, you can. There's an immune response, right? There's like an active immune response. I think they tell you to not for 24 hours in case there's an adverse reaction.
Right.
As far as I can remember, I think that's what Daniel said. But it would just be, you might have like a slight fever. Certain vaccines can have this immune response. You can have like, swelling of your lymph node, like close to wherever you were vaccinated, and you might feel just a little like crappy, but and you might not perform the best if you have this ongoing immune response, depending on how strong it is, right? So maybe just wait, just in case.
Portia says, thanks for the answer about the authorship. Angela, love your discussion on exercise. My husband's jaw dropped upon hearing how much you lift. And he really wants to hear about free diving and the mammalian dive response. We can do that on other episodes, right?
Yes, we will do that, Darren and I, on this future podcast.
All right. 3 minutes. Let's find.
This is just a teaser. Now you guys will have to come listen.
Let's find some compelling questions here before we wrap it up. Portia says, you should do some exercise so you can do TWiV for a long time. Thank you.
Agreed.
I would love to be able to do that. Can a diastasis recti be exercised away? I've lost all my core strength after half a lifetime of ME. Do you know what that is?
So yeah, diastasis recti means when your abdominal muscles separate. So that can happen after pregnancy. It can also happen, like some other people just have it naturally. I'm not, once again, not a medical professional. This is not my area of expertise, but I know that my cousin has diastasis in her abdomen, and depending on how large that diastasis is, so there's like it can be like 2-3 centimeters. There's different measurements, right? Like how separated. So it basically means like the rectus abdominis has separated in the middle. So depending on how large that is, I think some of it you can recover with exercise. But as one of the doctors told my cousin, that if it was past, like, I forget the actual measurement, you'd have to operate. You'd have to physically go in and then piece together again both sides, like cut the connective tissue in between. But I'm not sure what the exact numbers are. But I know that to some extent, if it's like a slight diastasis, you can fix it with exercise. I just don't know how severe. But you can still have good core strength and have diastasis. You can do other things like obliques and core is also your lower back, which a lot of people forget, and your muscle, your erectors on your back. It's not only your abs.
So if you remember, Questella was feeling poorly at the beginning, and she said, I actually feel a little better since this stream started. Maybe we're scaring the viruses back. Yeah.
That's great.
All right, Tona is the last question for tonight. In older women, does weightlifting build bone or just decrease bone loss?
Build bone. So when you say build bone, could it increase osteoblast production? I'm not sure. I know it'll prevent bone loss, but I'm not sure if there's actually more bone synthesized, like if the osteoblasts are increasing in the bone. I don't actually know. Um, I think that gaining bone density is difficult. I think it's more about preventing loss, but I'm not sure. This is not my area of expertise. Before I do any sort of episode on that, I will do all the research.
All right. That will do it for another office hours. Thanks to our moderators tonight. Let's see. I saw Tom. I saw Vanity Nutrition. I saw Steph. I saw Andrew. I saw Les. I think I got everyone. Does that sound like everyone, Angela? You have a better memory than I do.
I think so. Yeah. You have a pretty good memory, Vincent.
Thank you all for moderating tonight, and thanks to all of you for coming. We got our likes at 200. We got our attendees at 200. Perfect.
Perfect. And there's still 192 here.
Yep. Very nice. And we will be back next week, which is Wednesday, the 28th of February. I don't know who our guest will be. I always ask them at the last minute, but we'll try and get something. And everyone, thanks for coming tonight and listening. And Angela, thank you for coming on again. I really appreciate it, and look forward to your new podcast. What is it called? Jacked?
No, we don't know yet. But yes, thank you for having me, and thank you for all the wonderful questions. And please, if you have any other suggestions about the new podcast, send them in to microbe. What is it? Vincent at microbe.tv. Can they send them to you, Vincent?
Yeah. Vincent at microbe.tv works. Sure.
Exactly.
And, sometime in the next 6 months, maybe we'll see an episode, right?
Yes. Hopefully, yes. Hopefully by the summertime, let's say.
All right. Thank you, Angela. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Until next week, be safe. Good night, folks.